All right, so this is the internship class. This class is designed to answer the one question that I get from students all the time. How do I find a job? When students normally ask this question, there's a lot of other things that tend to come up as well. A lot of little questions that can go deeper into what they're really asking about. Things like, how should I get paid? Or how hard is a job? What should be in my portfolio? What are some things that I need to learn or need to do to find a job? And those are all very, very valid and great questions. During the next couple of weeks, we're going to be addressing those questions. We're going to put those to rest for you. Because really this class is all about transitioning between being a full-time student to being a full-time working professional. And I want to see you be a successful professional, regardless what you want to do with your degree. Whether you want to be a freelance designer, whether you want to work as an in-house full-time designer for a corporation, or whether you just want to roam around and see what God brings your way, I want you to be successful at it. And I want you to enjoy the work that you do. Hopefully, by this stage in your education, you've spent the last couple of years learning what it really means to be a graphic designer. And you've got a deeper appreciation and a deeper understanding for what it takes to do this kind of job. Now is the time to start thinking, how do I transition into doing this for a living? How can I get paid for this? How can you even enjoy this even further and continue to enjoy this for years to come? That's what I hope to cover and to talk to you about and to get you to start thinking about. Just how do you be a professional? So, the book starts off by throwing some numbers at you. In chapter 1, they say there's over 280,000 graphic designers on the 2006 and 2016 U.S. Census. This is over 250,000 working professional graphic designers. And these are just the ones that labeled graphic design on the census, on their income tax reforms. These aren't even the ones that call themselves freelance designers, or maybe people who work in other jobs related to design. Like if you do video editing, but you also had to design a logo or had to make some advertisement, well, that's related to graphic design, and that's a graphic design job. So there could actually be many more graphic designers out there. If you look at Mississippi College, just on the local level, we graduate about 10 new graphic design majors every year. That means by the time you were freshman all the way to your senior year, there's been 30 new students who have gone out into the graphic design field. Those are 30 people who are looking for jobs, who have gotten employed, who are competing against you. Your fellow classmates are your competition. Have you ever thought about it that way? There's over 250,000 competitors out there who are looking for jobs, who are trying to get your clients, who are just as good, if not better than you. And when you start to think of the numbers that way, it can be very, very overwhelming. But it's good to have a perspective in how big this profession is, because I want you to take it seriously. But it can be overwhelming and it can start to be depressing when you start to think, man, am I really that good? Can I find a job? Can I really compete with so many people? Here's the reason why those numbers are so big. It's because there are so many businesses out there who want to hire professional graphic designers. They know that if you are an educated designer, you have a degree, then you're trainable. If you're educated, then you're set apart from those who simply do this as a hobby. If you've got a degree, then you're a problem solver. And ultimately, businesses want to hire problem solvers. If you ask anybody what their job is, regardless what they tell you, their job boils down to being a problem solver. I mean, think about it. If you're a garbage man, you solve the problem of taking away people's trash. If you're a teacher, then you solve the problem of educating uneducated students. If you're a doctor, you solve the problem of making sick people well. Everything boils down to solving problems, from the president of a company down to the janitor of a company. As a graphic designer, they want to hire people who can solve the problems of their company. They want to hire someone who knows how to think for themselves. And so, as a graphic designer, your job is going to be to find problems and then to solve them, kind of like a superhero. Okay, so where do we begin? Where do you start off looking for a job? What I tell students to do is to look very broad. And the rest of chapter 1 actually goes into thinking about different industries and different fields that incorporate graphic design into their work. Things like publication design or interactive design or even nonprofits. All of them have pros and cons. And so if you're starting off your career, kind of get a feel for what each industry needs. As you do different jobs and different work for these industries, you'll get an understanding for things that you like to do and things that you're really good at. And sometimes you'll find yourself getting into a niche that you never even thought about. I know lots of graphic designers that say, man, I really wanted to go into doing illustration and drawing. But they realized that they were very good at doing layout design for advertisements or even video production or things that they had to learn a little bit more, but they really loved doing it. People kept coming to them and asking them for that kind of work. And so their careers may have started off in one area, but eventually they grew to specialize in another area. So you don't always have to start off with your dream job. Start off small, start off at the bottom. Let yourself grow as a designer and grow into the position that you want to have. Now, as you continue to read through chapters 1 and 2, there are these little call-out boxes called real-world advice. Pay close attention to those boxes. Don't skip over them because you think they're just something extra. The author has interviewed people who have worked in these different industries, and they've asked them, what is it really like on a day-to-day grind? Most of the time, it's not as glamorous as you may think it is working in those industries. Man, they've got to come and solve hard problems, and sometimes jobs just get difficult. It's hard to do all the time, but they still love doing it. And they're giving you their perspective and their advice on how to stay in that industry and some things that they wish they knew ahead of time going in. So read those carefully and try to put yourself into this position and say, what would I do if I had to do this job every day, even if I didn't like the job that I was doing? How could I stick to it? How could I stay in it so that I could grow from where I am now to where I want to be as a professional? Because let me give you some advice from me. In 5 years, your world is going to change. Now, most of you are college-age kids, and if you look on your Facebook feed now, in 5 years, all of your friends are going to start getting married, or they're going to have kids, or they're going to have their own house, they're going to move away, they're going to have their own responsibilities. Right now, you may not have a lot of responsibility, but that day is coming. And there are going to be people that depend on you. For me, I've got a wife that depends on me. I've got a kid who depends on me. I've got to pay for a house. So the job that I have isn't just something that I like to do. I've got it because other people need me to have this job. And it's going to be the same for you. Other people are going to depend on you to bring in a source of income, to hold down or to hold things together for them. Just as you are going to be dependent on your parents, or you are dependent on your spouse if you're married right now. So picking a job, it's a big deal, and it's something to think through. And I hope this is going to be a great journey for all of us. And over the next couple of weeks, if you have questions, write those questions down. Pray over them. Ask people about it. Ask me. Ask your fellow graphic design students and working professionals. Start putting yourself in a mindset of what does it take to transition from being a student, from being an amateur, to being a hardcore working professional that solves problems, that can be dependable, that can grow. All right, we'll see you next week.